The next sales tax issue that we need to correct is in the second report that's listed up there on the top bar. Now, this is not going to look exactly like yours because yours has been done, some of these have been done, but this is going to show you the example. So this report is sorted by dollars. So the highest dollar is at the top, and then it goes down and diminishes down to 0. Now, every line on here has to be done, and I'm going to show you what you do, and then you'll understand why it looks different. Because eventually what you're going to end up having is that all the lines will be 0, but they'll all have this in the memo, that the Mitchell handles by line item sales tax, in parentheses, set to 0. Now you'll notice there's one missing here, so that one hasn't been done yet, so you'll have to do that as well. But as you move up, you'll see that there's some gaps that haven't been done, but then you'll see a different wording in here. It's almost the same, but it's not the same. It's going to actually have the set to 0 at the end if you do it correctly. And as you move up, you'll see a lot of those, of course. But then once we get up past those, you'll see an area where they're all going to be blank. And then you'll see ones that actually just say state sales tax or something in there. And these right here, it doesn't really make any difference what it says in the memo. It ultimately ends up having to be like the ones at the bottom. So let's start out with ones that start with a dollar amount. The dollar amount means that it's actually been double taxed. And you can see that because, or normally it's double taxed, or it could also mean that that there is just tax at the bottom. There's no line item tax. Mitchell's supposed to put the line item tax in the actual invoice, but in this case they didn't. First thing you need to do is recognize that whether it's a regular customer or a commercial account, in this case it's a commercial account, serve code Toyota, you have to make sure that all the tax items are taxed, and these happen to be, and a lot of the work you did prior would have fixed the majority of those, but you will find a few that will not be listed as taxed. So the first thing you want to do is we want to recognize that we need to change this, and you can flip it to one of the other categories and then back to Mitchell 1 sales tax. But it's got to say Mitchell 1 sales tax, and it's got to have 0%. Sometimes you might have to do this a couple of times to move it around to get it to go to 0, but this has to be 0. But once we make it to 0, we're going to notice that we've got $28.69. It's an overpayment. It's actually not an overpayment. It should be for sales tax. So we need to add the sales tax item, which starts out with putting sales tax collected there. And then we determine whether it's regular tax or commercial. In this case, it's commercial, COMM. Then we hit tab, go over here, and then we type in the $28.69. Now, using Alt with the A letter, because that's the A that's underlined on the button here. So I hold the Alt key down and hit A. It does very quick. The blue button of OK is actually already highlighted. It's blue. So all you have to do is hit the Enter key. And then as there are payments applied with the yes, you hit Enter key. And then you'll probably get, in most cases, you'll get a 90-day warning, which the yes key is also blue. So you hit Enter one more time. And now that is going to disappear. And if it doesn't disappear immediately, you can hit refresh and make sure that it's gone. In that case, this is a different one than the other one. Now, this one is a slightly different situation. This is that it's actually been taxed twice. It's got the 2928 in the body like it should be, and it's also got a 2856 that's in the Mitchell sales line, which should not be. So first of all, we notice that there's a non-taxed item here. We fix it, change it to taxed. We also recognize this is an individual person, so this is regular sales tax. We change our sales tax. We flip it around so that it comes back to 0. And now we have a 2856 of extra. But we want to first fix the sales tax line. It should not say sales tax Mitchell 1. It should say regular in this case. If it was a commercial account, it'd say commercial. and we need to put $29.28 in there as far as tax. And we're going to get a warning about the sales tax line. Now, we have an extra $28.56 left over. What we want to do is on that very next line, type in OT, and other income will pop up. And now you tab over and put that in there as $28.56 as other income and leave that as non-taxed. Now it backs to 0 and we hit save and close by hitting Alt-A, the blue button yes, the blue button yes, and it's gone. So I'll do one more in this line. In this case, all are taxed. Honolulu Ford is a commercial account. We've got a tax rate listed here. It should be 0. And we've got commercial tax. What we will do is we'll add the sales tax line item collected. We'll then add commercial below here, and we'll put in $26.36. Back to 0, our warning, hit enter, hit Alt-A, hit yes, yes, and it's gone. Now what I'd like to do is move down to a 0 one and show you the slight differences. So this first 0 one, somehow or some reason, they are discounting this so that basically the customer doesn't have to pay anything, which I don't quite understand. I've actually asked him this, but this should all say taxed, even if it is not going to have any dollar amount. They should always say taxed. This needs to be changed again to 0. Now, because they're all discount 0, there really isn't any need to put a tax line in here. It wouldn't be necessary. So one of the things we look at here, this is invoice 13438. So we're going to save this one. Now what I want to do is I want to scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see this 13438 is the last one we just did. It will put it at the bottom. You'll notice it still says 0, but the key is now it says Mitchell handles by line item sales tax parentheses set to 0. So in other words, it actually has the correct memo. That's why every line needs to be done that doesn't already have that, because you're going to have to make sure that it says that. So the cases are either it's going to be an overpayment, and we have to add that to other income. It's going to be a 0, and we'll just have to make sure that we add it to the sales tax. And then, or if it's 0, we just make sure that everything's taxable.